This video is made possible by Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg. If you're looking for a new Subaru product in the Chicagoland area, Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg is the best place to buy. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2022 Nissan Leaf SV Plus. Up front is a single electric motor, and down below is a single speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Nissan Leaf for two reasons. First of all, it's been a long time since I've driven the Leaf. I drove it when it first came out for this body style back in 2018, a long time ago by modern and YouTube standards. But the second reason is the fact that I think this is still one of the best EVs you can buy, and it's not often mentioned in the conversation of electric cars. It was one of the first here in the United States, and yet no one talks about it. And I think that that is a mighty shame, and so I'm going to try to remedy that as best I can. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me in a similar way that this Nissan Leaf is being reviewed today, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out. I come out to you, and you would get a video of your vehicle, just like the one you're watching now of this Nissan Leaf. But let's get back to that all-electric drivetrain. First thing on everyone's mind, range. This gets 215 miles per charge. Now, if you go to the S Plus, you could actually get up to 226, but this has a couple bells and whistles that weigh it down ever so slightly. Over 200 miles of range is good enough for me. That's more than I do in an average day, and if you have an at-home charger, you're gonna be starting every day with a full tank or full charge, and so it's not going to be much of an issue. More range is nice, but not necessary. Now, it is a front-wheel drive system, and it is torquey. It has that electric torque. I remember the first time I drove the Nissan Leaf, I actually squeaked the tires on my test drive, which doesn't normally happen, and so I was very excited about that. So it is a good driving experience. It's quiet. There's not a whole lot of road noise, more road noise than a combustion engine, but solely because there's no engine making noise to cover it up. So you might think that you can hear the road better in a car like this. It's just because there's not an engine blocking it out. Steering is a good weight, visibility is really good, and I'm very happy with the driving feel. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a screen and a physical gauge. Off to the right, this is my physical gauge. So it's a speedometer, and it will work in kilometers as well. And then off to the left, this is a little screen built into the dash that'll give me my charge, gear, and all of that info that I can select and play around with on screen now. I do like that you do get a physical and digital gauge. However, I don't like how they integrated the digital gauge. It looks kind of slapped in there. But again, at the price point, I'm not expecting it to be built out of gold, so that's okay. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my volume selectors, skip track, and back button, and off to the right, I do have my adaptive cruise control options and my phone controls. The overall steering wheel feels very modern, feels nice, and I'm very happy to see this in the 2022 Leaf. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent. I have my charge port release, as well as my charging timer, and a steering assist button, which is really cool to see in a vehicle like this. Off to the left, I have the power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, I do have two climate control vents and the hazard switch and the infotainment system. I do get navigation. I get a backup camera as seen here. It also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I do have a camera button off to the right so I can toggle the camera at slow speeds or when parked, which is a nice feature that not all vehicles offer. Moving down below, we have our climate control options. So we do have a timed climate control if we want to set that, as well as we just have our temperature to the far left, fan speed to the far right, where to send it in the middle. No dual zone climate, which I would have liked to have seen, but again, not the end of the world. Moving down below, we do have our on and off button. We have a USB-C as well as USB-A. Nissan really getting with the times here, which I'm very happy to see. USB-C sort of taking over the technology game in cars. Then I have the heated seat options and a 12-volt outlet, a little cubby, and then we move on to the center console. We do have an eco button as well as our e-pedal button, so this does allow for one pedal driving. And then we have our shifter, which is pretty much cherry-picked out of the Toyota Prius, which I'm not a fan of. It's wonky for no real reason, and I'm not super happy about it, but that's the only real wonky part of this car. And so if that's the only bad part, I can most certainly deal with that. Then we do have our power parking brake off to the left and cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Nissan Leaf. And unfortunately it fails, to be expected, but you still gotta try it. Then we do get a very little center console, and then we'll talk about the seats. The seats do have this nice blue stitching slash lining slash whatever you want to call it, and I do think it actually is pretty attractive, and they are pretty comfortable. I'm enjoying my experience in here, and that's way better than the Chevy Bolt. The Chevy Bolt seats were so god awful. I don't even want to talk about them without getting sick. But the Nissan Leaf seats are very, very good, at least compared to that. Speaking of seats, however, we do have back seats, so let's go do back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2022 Nissan Leaf SV Plus. And a couple of things to note. First of all, I do have two outlets back here for charging. Let's see, this will be a test. Are they modern USB-C or are they traditional USB-A? They're USB-A. That's okay. Not the end of the world. The seats back here are a little hard, a little unforgiving. Headroom, I am 5'11". I'm starting to hit the ceiling a little bit. My knees are coming close to the seat in front of me. If I sit with them straight on, they do hit the seat. I don't get a center console. The back seats of the Leaf are very, very basic. You're gonna notice back here, this is where Nissan really wanted to save money. However, not the end of the world. I don't use my back seats of my Mazda 3 every single day. I actually rarely use them. So backseat comfort isn't a huge issue, especially with a vehicle like this. And if you do want an EV from Nissan that has a better backseat, there is the Nissan Ariya. So something to note. But let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Nissan Leaf, little button right here, pop it up, and we are in the trunk. So it does have a flat loading floor. You can pull this up, and you do get a lot of cargo space. And then you could pull this one up and you get a little bit of cargo space, which is really, really nice to see. I do get a little light back here as well. I get some tie downs and I get this really nice privacy cover. Nothing crazy, but again, you got to think like Nissan Versa. That's kind of the size and style that this vehicle was built after. And so if you kind of calibrate your mind for that style of vehicle, this makes perfect sense. And this cargo space is very adequate. Now we got to talk about the looks, and it looks surprisingly normal for being an EV. A lot of manufacturers, when they debut a new electric car, because it's sort of the hot new thing right now, they always try to make it look wonky and weird and stylish and very, very out there. They want to attract as many eyes to their new product as they can. Well, Nissan doesn't do that, and they haven't done that here with the Leaf. It looks like a Versa with a slight different nose on it. It looks normal. It's average. If you see it in a parking lot, it's not going to draw any red flags. And I love that about the Leaf. I really, really do. But I also think that that might be its downfall. And so, with that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 2022 Nissan Leaf? It's been several years since I've driven one. How have my thoughts changed? How have I matured and grown? Well, I can't really say if I've matured or grown, but my thoughts haven't changed too much. This is a fantastic EV and probably the best on the market. Let me explain why through a little bit of voice acting.
I want an EV, but it needs to get over 200 miles of range. I want an EV, but I don't want it to look weird like an alien spaceship like the BZ4X. I want an EV that's not going to cost me an arm and a leg. I want it to be sub $40,000. I don't want to buy an EV from one of those upstart brands that might not be around in 2 or 3 years. I want an EV that even my dumb grandparents would be able to work.
Okay, rude, but I don't really know what else you would want out of an EV, and it's a gosh darn shame that this car has been around since 2018 and even a previous generation before that, but let's just stick with this car as it sits, has been around for 5 years. And yet no one talks about them. No one mentions them. They don't get any credit for being so good. They've watched all of their competitors rise to the top. This existed before Lucid, Rivian, Lordstown. All of those. It's existed before them. And yet it's just sat idling, watching. You know what this car is? This car is that unproblematic kid in high school. There was a kid that went to my high school and actually junior high. His name was Carlos. Carlos and I haven't spoken since junior high, so if you're watching this, Carlos, hello. He was so nice. He was so quiet. He could do the Rubik's Cube in around a minute, which was insane on the junior high playgrounds. He never got in any fights. He was never late to class. He just was a good kid. He was nice. Everyone liked him. But I didn't keep tabs on him. I never caught up with him after high school. We went separate ways in life, and I have no idea where he is, what he's doing, or sure, many people don't even remember him. And that's a shame, because he probably was the nicest, most thoughtful kid in our school. He's the best. Carlos was awesome, and yet I think most would struggle to pick him out of the yearbook. They say the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but that saying fails to remember that no one likes having a squeaky wheel in the first place. This car is so good that it won't be remembered. It did its job too perfectly. It's too perfect of an answer. People want EVs to be all these things, and they fail to recognize that the Leaf is already all of those things. And so it makes me wonder how much of this EVs are good or bad debate is just people who want to listen to their own voices and people who want to come out with the newest, most punchy, clickbaity title as they can. There's no need for clickbait anymore. The Nissan Leaf is here, and it's been here for longer than you'd think. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Napleton, Subaru, and Schaumburg for letting me take out their used Nissan Leaf. This is a one-owner vehicle. They are absolutely awesome. Such a great dealership. They really allow me to really express what I want about their vehicles. This just happens to be one of the best on their lot. Their customer service is fantastic, and I can't recommend them enough. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.